Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on June 2, 2025. This meeting included comments and discussion about renewing a contract for e-bikes and scooters in the city, expanding public land at Hickory Nature Area, rezoning the downtown public library to allow for private uses and private ownership, approving a green rental housing ordinance of requirements for rental units, and dissolving the Environmental and Energy Commissions to create a Sustainability Commission. This is the voting chart for the council meeting on June 2, 2025. All agenda items were approved unanimously. There were 2 absences, Councilmembers Dish from Ward 1 and Councilmember Cornell from Ward 5. For Dish, this was her 11th absence since taking office in November 2020. For Cornell, this was her 11th absence since taking office in November 2022. You can find this voting chart and more information about this meeting at a2council.com. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. The meeting included a presentation from Stephanie Carter, Chair of the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission.
So in June, we are planning, we won't be here in council chambers. We're planning to be at one of the libraries, possibly the West Branch, we're not sure yet. Chief Anderson has instituted a policy that says when you're stopped in a traffic stop, the officer is to give you his name and the reason why he stopped you. And people say, well, how are you going to enforce this? The only way we can enforce it is for citizens to let us know.
After introductory remarks, public comments, and staff explanations, Council discussed agenda items for about 25 minutes. 12 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. 3 people signed up to speak about topics on the agenda. The consent agenda this week included 30 items and expenditures of almost $9 million. 1 item was pulled for discussion. A license agreement will permit the ongoing operation of e-bikes and dockless scooters in the city. This contract was last renewed in June 2024, around the same time that the city was named in a lawsuit from the family of a university student killed while operating a scooter. 1 year ago, the council agenda included both a resolution allocating $145,000 for attorneys to defend the city in litigation related to that death, and a renewed agreement for operation of the scooters. In 2024, the resolution renewing the agreement emphasized how e-scooters help meet climate and transportation goals as a healthy and affordable transit option. This week, Council explained the new agreement.
It introduces Safe Start or an equivalent, which is an in-app sobriety check for late-night riders. It requires at least 1 in-person safety education event during the license term. It also introduces a helmet discount program to promote rider safety.
The agreement was approved unanimously. 2 rezonings were approved unanimously after a brief introduction. Both properties are owned by the Ann Arbor Public Schools. Council considered a rezoning to create more public land, expanding Hickory Nature Area on the north side of town, adjacent to M14. This land is part of a multifamily development off Pontiac Trail. Its donation to the city was part of a development that was negotiated and approved in 2019. Council and staff discussed the rezoning.
There are no plans to develop this area as a park. The reason this took so long is that the paperwork seems to have been misplaced on the city's end due to the high volume of these kinds of transactions.
Is it parkland or not?
I'm not sure exactly what the confusion, where the confusion came from. It will officially be a park. It's officially an expansion of the Hickory Nature Area. There's just no actual new development proposed on the land.
The rezoning was approved unanimously. Council then considered a rezoning to allow for private ownership and private uses at the downtown Ann Arbor District Library. Earlier in the evening, public commenters spoke to the issue.
Turns out the public surveys say folks like the library, but they don't necessarily see that it needs what the director said. No shared vision has been in the public at all, other than it looks like the library is just going to be 1 floor now, smaller than what it is now. This appears to me and to many others in the public as just a bait and switch. Every time we hear this, well, we'll fix the details later. We'll put together a plan later. Can't do that after you sold it.
I suggest the proposed rezoning is premature. Apparently, the library board aims to diminish its public and governmental functions on its downtown property and become, on that property, a commercial developer and landlord. This is the moment, it strikes me, to have this discussion in public and to arrive at or disclose an equitable result. Whatever arrangement is reached regarding the commercial use of this public land, it seems likely to be applied to the center of the city park that seems teed up to be given to the library board with no strings attached.
This will enable the library to sell both the parking lot and the library itself to a developer for a dual megalith.
Let's be clear. This rezoning is not about a new library. It is about selling public land to a private developer. Sure, there might be a library in part of the building, or there might not. This is not about a new library. This is about a mayor who didn't get his way, wanting to overturn the will of the people.
These commenters referred to the fact that in August, voters will decide whether additional property on that block, currently owned by the city, is transferred to the library. This week's rezoning will allow the library to be redeveloped under private ownership with private uses. If proposals A and B are approved this August, public property at both the library and the adjacent city parcel will be redeveloped as primarily private commercial spaces. A city memo released in March explains the plan to transfer city property for $1 to facilitate private development at maximum height across both parcels, with one floor dedicated to library space. Other public commenters this week spoke in support of the rezoning and redevelopment.
It's amazing all the things you can get at the library, from puzzles to books to microscopes or musical instruments, and I think it's a great place.
In my mind, this rezoning will unlock, hopefully, funds to make our library system even better, hopefully without having to charge extra tax dollars.
I am so excited to see the prospects and the ability for the Ann Arbor District Library to explore public-private partnerships.
I'm strongly in favor of this rezoning proposal, and I urge you all to vote yes without delay. It's a win-win-win-win. I trust the Ann Arbor District Library to do what they say they will do.
All we need to do is vote for it and get their building rezoned. I am kind of sad that the D1 zone will only allow a maximum of 180 feet.
Council discussed the rezoning.
So this potentially, if a mixed-use development works out, it creates a parcel that is taxable. I would also just like to point to the trust and the success that our public library has built with this community. They have redeveloped multiple branches. I'd also like to point to the fact that there's nothing to stop them from selling the site right now. Their library could approve it and they could sell it.
This statement ignores the definition of public land in the city's municipal code. As currently zoned, the library must be publicly owned for public uses. The library director explained this clearly when he requested the rezoning at the Planning Commission earlier this year.
Public lands precludes private ownership and private development. So we wanted to have this hurdle out of the way before we started talking to potential development partners.
Once rezoned, the property can be sold and library services will no longer be required as a primary function or use. Council expressed more support for the rezoning.
I am incredibly excited about the prospect of a new downtown library. I'm grateful for the library for bringing forward, asking for this rezoning. Having a new downtown library, whether at this parcel or combined with the next door parcel, in connection with mixed income housing, potentially public open space if the next door parcel is utilized.
The rezoning of the downtown library from public land to downtown core was approved unanimously. Council then considered an ordinance amendment that will make it easier to modify the use of individual parcels within a planned unit development zoning district. These PUD zoning districts are designed to provide special benefit to the city, such as open space, and developed in a way that is compatible with surrounding uses. PUD zoning districts are not a strategy to avoid the standards and requirements of other zoning districts. This week's proposed changes address how the owner of one parcel in a PUD district can request zoning modifications. Council discussed an amendment that will remove the requirement that all property owners within a PUD district agree to any proposed modifications.
The attached change initiated by staff would propose that any lot owner or condominium owners association would have the ability to seek PUD modifications as it relates to their lot. This, for example, would clearly enable a lot owner to seek removal of their parcel from a PUD zoning district where previously established.
Before the meeting, city staff offered examples of when this flexibility might have been helpful to property owners seeking modifications. In one example, a property owner was unable to convert housing to short-term rentals, and in another, a property owner was unable to open a marijuana business. The ordinance amendment was approved unanimously. Council considered a new ordinance that will require landlords to meet certain standards for sustainability. This ordinance was postponed at a previous council meeting. Earlier in the evening, public commenters spoke in support.
Because there are a huge variety of ways that property owners can achieve compliance, many of which are very modest and no or low cost, it's not plausible to me that this measure will cause rents to increase.
Landlords will find that they already satisfy many items on the checklist and that other items have no associated costs, such as holding a renter sustainability session once a year, conducting a free home energy assessment with development of a plan, and allowing clotheslines.
Council discussed the ordinance.
There are two pathways to achieving a qualifying asset rating. One is through the home energy rating system pathway, and the second is a checklist pathway. And in 2022, the Energy Commission expressed its support for draft recommendations, and again in 2024. I know the Renters Commission has also been engaged repeatedly, and finally, the ordinance has received extensive legal review. So,
in March, this ordinance was discussed at the Renters Commission. Commissioners raised concerns about the burden to smaller landlords who tend to have more affordable units for rent.
I feel like I'm not understanding how, for those of us who have unique units, we're going to have to do all this paperwork for every unit, where a building that has, say, 60 of the same unit, like when they do inspections, they do them differently. And there's really a really disproportionate burden on those of us. We are a small landlord with affordable housing. So doing things like paying double for heat pumps versus somebody who has two houses, like it's just not possible for us to keep lower rents.
The new questionnaire, I was just looking it over, it seems like many of the points are really only going to be applicable to big units.
At that meeting, the Renters Commission considered a resolution that would specifically address these concerns.
Resolved that the Ann Arbor Renters Commission supports the Green Rental Ordinance only if the City of Ann Arbor commits to sustained and dedicated funding for financial assistance programs targeted towards rental properties built before 1980 and/or units priced at or below 80 to 85% of the area's median rent, ensuring that compliance costs do not result in increased rental burden for tenants.
Ahead of this week's meeting, multiple pages of amendments were shared by Councilmember Harrison, who is liaison to the Renters Commission. Her amendments addressed a range of concerns, including waiver standards, transparency, equity, and displacement. Harrison formally presented just one of the amendments to Council.
So that amendment would require the city administrator to issue a written decision on any waiver appeal within 30 days. No fines would occur while the appeal is pending. If the appeal is denied, fines would begin from the date of the decision, not retroactively. It's a small clarification, but it matters. If we're going to offer an appeal process, people shouldn't be penalized just for using it.
It was adopted as a friendly amendment. Councilmember Harrison asked additional questions of staff.
I just kind of wanted to ask Dr. Stoltz to speak tonight a little bit about how this ordinance is being implemented in a way that avoids displacement, and what forms of assistance are currently available to both landlords, tenants, what preparation has been done, and what can people expect going forward.
We have funding rebates already available for our housing, for some multifamily, not all multifamily. We are also working on a larger rebate program. We've been in discussion to pilot and really understand what their needs are at scale, so we can figure out how the funding can go as far and be as impactful as possible for an extended rebate program, really looking at our larger multifamily sites here. We've already stood up some educational materials. We have some websites that are available.
In reference to other amendments, Councilmember Harrison requested that staff communications be made public.
So from the remaining proposed amendments, I've become aware of staff's responses to many of the questions, the amendments that I proposed. So tonight I am asking that Administrator Mahoney and Dr. Stoltz make those staff responses public by the next council meeting. It was too late to have them make them public for this evening, but if they could make those responses public.
The Green Housing Ordinance was approved unanimously at first reading. At a future meeting, it will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Council then considered an ordinance amendment that will eliminate 2 city commissions and replace them with a sustainability commission. Extensive changes will dissolve the Energy Commission, which has existed since 1985, and dissolve the Environmental Commission, which has existed since 2000. The Environmental and Energy Commissions include appointed members of the community who have historically had autonomy to set goals and policy as an advisory body to City Council. That autonomy is removed in the new ordinance. A new Sustainability Commission will be directed by city staff and given a work plan. Council members explained the change.
OSI, or climate-related staff generally, largely did not exist when both of these commissions came into being. So the expertise on the commissions was all City Council had to rely on at the time.
They described the commissions as primarily forums for staff presentations.
OSI's rise somewhat relegated the 2 commissions to informational presentations at their monthly meetings rather than discussion or debate on topics that further informed city policies.
In March, a member of both the Environmental and Energy Commission confirmed that their role had been minimized in exactly that way.
Boards and commissions need to be the route to provide input to City Council. And I'll give you a specific example that I was going to mentioned earlier, this proposal that's been put forth by Ann Arbor for Public Power, that there should be a municipal city utility, that the city should condemn DTE's assets and buy them out. There was a phase 1 study that was authorized by the city that was brought to the Energy Commission. It was debated over 3 meetings. The way the last discussion went over a phase 2 study for $1.7 million, probably the most important budget policy related activity that the Energy Commission could have considered, that went directly from city staff to City Council. It went to 1 meeting. City staff didn't say, oh, this is something that maybe the Energy Commission should weigh in on and we should be getting public comment in Energy Commission meetings. That went then a second time to City Council, and City Council voted on it.
Council this week emphasized the value of staff guidance.
The new Sustainability Commission will still cover a lot of the same topics as the previous 2 separate commissions, but in a refocused way, guided by an annual work plan.
The ordinance amendment dissolving the Energy and Environmental Commissions was approved unanimously at first reading. At a future meeting, the amendment will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Finally, without discussion, Council approved an affordable housing agreement for 616 East Washington. The high-rise development has a total of 240 dwelling units, 19 affordable to households earning less than the area median income. The meeting adjourned before 9:30 p.m. without any further public comments. If you'd like to learn more about this meeting, visit A2Council.com.
Welcome to this week's A2Council Moment of Zen.
Amendment first, right?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Is the amendment friendly to the body?
I would just like to hear if Dr. Stoltz might be able to just speak a little bit to this amendment. That would be just helpful.
Thanks, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we support this amendment.
Is the amendment friendly to the body? Mm-hmm. It appears friendly. Amendment is friendly.